The courthouse hallway smells like bleach and broken promises. Evan Calder grips the wheelchair armrests so hard his knuckles go white. The metal digs into his palms, but he doesn't loosen his hold. Pain is familiar now. Pain he can control. The fluorescent lights above him buzz like trapped insects. His wedding ring bought yesterday at a pawn shop for $63 feels heavy enough to break his finger. The gold is fake. The marriage will be too. But the papers trembling in his lap are real. So is the eviction notice folded in his jacket pocket. So is the social worker's warning still echoing in his skull? Unstable housing could raise questions about Rowan's safety. Evan Calder sits in his wheelchair outside courtroom 3B, hands gripping the armrests so hard his knuckles have gone white. 38 years old. Single father. Disabled. Desperate. This marriage isn't about love. It's about leverage. The woman sitting 4 feet away on the wooden bench doesn't look at him. Maribel Huxley, 29. Dark hair pulled back so tight it looks like control. Her hands rest flat on her lap, fingers spread like she's trying to hold something down. She hasn't said a word in 11 minutes. Evan counted. The courthouse hallway smells like burnt coffee and old carpet. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, the kind that make everyone look sick. A clerk walks past with a stack of manila folders. Her shoes squeak on linoleum. Evan's wheelchair creaks when he shifts his weight. The sound makes him want to disappear. Maribel sits 3 feet away on a wooden bench worn smooth by decades of people waiting for their lives to change. She doesn't look at him. Her hands rest in her lap, fingers locked together like they're holding something invisible. She wears a gray dress that looks borrowed. No jewelry, no makeup. Her jaw is tight. Evan grips the wheels of his chair. His palms are sweating. The fluorescent lights hum overhead, the kind that flicker just enough to make you feel like you're waiting for bad news in a hospital. The hallway smells like floor cleaner and old coffee. Someone's phone buzzes. A clerk shuffles papers at the end of the hall. The whole building feels like a place where hope comes to fill out forms. He doesn't look at Maribel. She doesn't look at him. This marriage isn't about love. It's about leverage. Evan Calder's hands shake as he holds the pen. The courthouse clerk, bored, chewing gum, slides the certificate across the counter. The paper is cold, official, final. His wedding ring sits in his jacket pocket, bought yesterday at a pawn shop for $42. It weighs more than it should. Maribel Huxley stands 3 feet away, arms crossed, staring at a water-stained ceiling tile like it holds answers. She hasn't looked at him once since they walked in. Her stepmother, Corinne, waits outside in a black sedan with tinted windows, watching. Always watching. Evan Calder grips the pen. His hand shakes, not from nerves, from the effort it takes to keep his body still when every instinct screams to run. But men in wheelchairs don't run. Everyone knows that. The courthouse clerk taps her nails on the counter. Fluorescent lights hum like a mosquito trapped in glass. Somewhere down the hall, a child cries. Evan thinks of Rowan, and his chest tightens. "Sir?" the clerk says. "Sign here." He does. Black ink on white paper. Legal. Binding. Permanent. Maribel signs next. Her hand doesn't shake. That bothers him more than it should. The pen clicks when she sets it down. No one claps. No one smiles. The witness, some clerk who doesn't care, stamps the paper twice and slides it across the table like a receipt for groceries. Evan Calder sits in his wheelchair, hands flat on the armrests, knuckles bone white. His jaw aches from clenching. The fluorescent lights hum too loud. The courthouse hallway smells like burnt coffee and old carpet glue. Somewhere down the hall, a baby cries. Somewhere else, a couple laughs. None of it reaches him. The woman beside him, Maribel Huxley, doesn't look at him. She signs her name on the marriage certificate with a pen that clicks too loud in the silence. Her hand shakes, just once, then steady again. Evan Calder watches her fingers move across the paper, watches the ink dry, watches his life become someone else's transaction. He doesn't move his legs because he can't. That's what everyone believes. The clerk behind the bulletproof glass slides the certificate back through the slot. "Congratulations," she says. flat as grocery store receipt paper. No one smiles. No one claps. The fluorescent lights hum like a warning. Maribel Huxley, his wife, now, legally, impossibly stands beside him, with her purse clutched against her ribs like a shield. She doesn't look at him. She hasn't looked at him since they walked in. Evan Calder sits in his wheelchair, hands trembling against the armrests, and thinks about all the ways a man can fall without ever hitting the ground. Behind them, Corinne Huxley watches from the hallway. Her smile is sharp, clinical. She doesn't clap. She doesn't congratulate. She just nods once, like a landlord collecting rent, and turns away. The clerk slides the certificate across the counter. Maribel's hand hovers over the pen. Evan watches her fingers shake. He wants to tell her she doesn't have to do this. But he already knows the truth. They both do. Hey, I'm really glad you're here. Be honest, how are you doing today? Tell me that. Your location. And the time. And if you're new, help me prove something wrong. My mother said drill stories would never reach 10,000 subscribers, but stories like this deserve to be heard. So don't leave without subscribing. It feels empty when you come in and leave without saying a word. Now, let's continue. The courthouse hallway smells like floor wax and failure. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, the kind that flicker just enough to remind you where you are somewhere between bureaucracy and surrender. Evan Calder sits in his wheelchair near the water fountain, hands gripping the armrest so hard his knuckles have gone white. His son, Rowan, is 20 feet away, sitting on a wooden bench that's bolted to the wall, legs swinging because they don't reach the floor yet. The boy holds a toy car in his lap. He doesn't play with it, just holds it. Evan's breath comes shallow. The papers in his lap are damp at the edges where his thumbs have pressed too hard. Marriage certificate, witness signatures, legal binding in triplicate. He can feel the weight of every word on the page, even though he hasn't read them in an hour. A woman in a gray pencil skirt walks past. Heels click on linoleum. She doesn't look at him. No one does. Wheelchairs have that effect, they turn men invisible. Maribel Huxley sits 3 feet away on a wooden bench that squeaks every time she shifts her weight. She hasn't looked at him once since they arrived. Her hands are folded in her lap like she's waiting for a sentence to be handed down. Maybe she is. Evan Calder watches her from the corner of his eye. She's younger than him by almost 10 years. Her hair is pulled back tight enough to hurt. Her dress is beige and formless, the kind of thing someone picks when they don't want to be remembered. She doesn't look at him. She hasn't looked at him since they walked well. Since she walked and he rolled into this building. The fluorescent lights hum. Someone's shoes squeak down the hall. A clerk calls a name that isn't theirs. Evan's hands shake on the armrests of his wheelchair. Not from nerves. From the effort it takes not to stand up and walk out of this place. He could. That's the secret no one in this building knows. Not the clerk behind the plexiglass. Not the woman sitting 3 feet away from him who's about to become his wife. Not the system that's been grinding him into dust for 3 years. He could stand. He could walk. He could run if he had to. But the moment he does, he loses everything. The courthouse hallway smells like floor cleaner and old coffee. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, the kind that make everyone look sick. Evan Calder sits in his wheelchair, hands gripping the armrests so tight his knuckles go pale. The marriage certificate trembles on his lap. Black ink. Official seals. His name spelled out like a sentence. Across from him, Maribel Huxley sits with her legs crossed, staring at a water stain on the ceiling. She hasn't said a word in 20 minutes. Her stepmother, Corinne, stands near the vending machines, phone pressed to her ear, smiling at something no one else can hear. This marriage isn't about love. It's about leverage. Evan knows that. Maribel knows that. And Corinne cold, calculating Corinne, she knows it best of all. The wheelchair creaks when Evan shifts his weight. The sound makes Maribel flinch. She doesn't look at him. Hasn't really looked at him since they met 3 days ago in a church basement that smelled like burnt coffee and pity. She'd been wearing a gray cardigan. He'd been wearing the same jeans he'd worn to his last custody hearing. "Sign it," Corinne had said then, sliding the papers across the folding table. "Or lose your son." Evan's hands curl around the armrests now. His shoulders ache. His back screams. But he doesn't move, doesn't stand, doesn't do anything that might make someone look too close. Because if they ever found out the truth, they would destroy him. A door opens down the hall. A clerk appears middle-aged, tired, holding a clipboard like it weighs 50 pounds. She glances at the three of them and sighs. Calder and Huxley? Evan's stomach drops. This is it. He rolls forward. The wheels stick on the linoleum. Maribel stands, smooths her skirt, and follows without a word. Corinne hangs up her call and walks behind them both, heels clicking like a countdown. The room is small, beige walls, a fake plant in the corner, a desk with a judge who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. He doesn't ask questions, doesn't offer congratulations, just reads from a script that sounds like it's been said 1,000 times before. Do you, Evan Calder, take this woman? Evan says yes. Do you, Maribel Huxley, take this man? Maribel hesitates. Just for a second. Her jaw tightens. Then she says yes. The judge stamps the paper. It's done. No kiss. No photos. No applause. Just signatures and witnesses who don't care. Corinne smiles. Evan feels something cold settle in his chest. Something that tastes like humiliation and survival, and the kind of fear that doesn't go away when you close your eyes. Rowan is 7 years old. He likes dinosaurs and peanut butter sandwiches and asking questions Evan doesn't know how to answer. He tucks blankets around his father's legs every night before bed because he thinks it helps. He doesn't know his dad can feel the weight of those blankets. Doesn't know his dad bites down on his tongue to keep from crying when he moves wrong. Rowan is the only reason Evan said yes. The only reason he's sitting in this courthouse, married to a stranger, pretending to be something he's not. Outside, the January wind cuts through the parking lot like a knife. Evan rolls toward the van, old, rusted, modified, with a ramp that groans when it drops. Maribel climbs into the passenger seat without being asked. Corinne leans into the driver's side window before Evan can close the door. Remember, she says, voice low and sharp. You need her more than she needs you. Don't forget that. Then she's gone. The drive back to the house is silent. Maribel stares out the window. Evan grips the wheel so hard his hands shake. He doesn't trust himself to speak. Doesn't trust the words that might come out if he tries. When they pull into the driveway, Rowan is sitting on the front steps, waiting. He jumps up when he sees the van, waving like they've been gone for weeks instead of hours. Dad, did you do it? Are you married now? Evan forces a smile. Yeah, buddy. We did it. Rowan looks at Maribel. Are you going to live with us? She nods. Doesn't smile. Doesn't say anything reassuring or warm. Just nods. Rowan doesn't seem to notice. He grabs her hand and pulls her toward the house, talking a mile a minute about the fort he built in the living room and the cereal he spilled and the show he wants to watch tonight. Evan stays in the van for a minute longer. Alone. Breathing. Then he reaches down, grips the edge of the seat, and for just a second, just 1 second, he pushes himself up. Pain shoots through his spine. His legs tremble. But he stands. Not for long. Just long enough to remember what it feels like. Just long enough to remind himself why he can't let anyone see. He lowers himself back into the chair, wipes his eyes, and rolls inside. If they ever found out the truth, they would destroy him. The scaffolding collapses at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in March. Evan Calder doesn't hear it coming. 1 second he's checking the anchor bolts on the 4th floor platform, clipboard in hand, safety vest bright against the gray New Jersey sky. The next second the world tilts sideways. Metal screams. Cables snap like guitar strings. Gravity takes over. He falls 12 feet before his back hits the concrete beam. The impact sounds like a gunshot. Everything below his waist goes numb. Then the pain arrives white hot, blinding, total. He can't breathe, can't move, can't do anything but stare at the sky while construction workers shout his name and someone's radio crackles with emergency codes he doesn't understand. The ambulance takes 19 minutes to arrive. Evan counts every second. He doesn't know it yet, but this is the moment his life splits in two. Before the fall, after the fall. Before he needed help getting dressed. After he became the man everyone stopped looking at directly. The hospital smells like disinfectant and fear. Evan lies flat on a gurney in a hallway that's too bright and too cold. A nurse checks his vitals without making eye contact. A doctor appears young, tired, holding a tablet like it's a shield. "Mr. Calder, we need to run more tests, but preliminary imaging shows compression fractures in your L2 and L3 vertebrae. There's swelling around the spinal cord. We won't know the full extent until the inflammation goes down." Evan's mouth is dry. What does that mean? The doctor hesitates. "It means we need to wait and see." That's code. Evan knows it. Doctors don't say wait and see when they think you're going to walk again. His wife Jasmine, her name was Jasmine, sits in the corner of the room with her arms crossed. She doesn't cry, doesn't hold his hand, just sits there, staring at the floor like she's doing math in her head, calculating costs, weighing options, deciding. Evan watches her and knows. Not right away, but eventually. She's already gone. 3 days later, the company sends a man in a cheap suit with a briefcase full of papers. Settlement offer. Sign here. Liability waiver. Non-disclosure agreement. The number on the check has a lot of zeros, but not enough to fix what's broken. "We take care of our people," the man says, smiling like he believes it. Evan signs. What choice does he have? Medical bills are already piling up. Jasmine hasn't said a word in 2 days. Rowan, 4 years old, confused, scared, keeps asking when Daddy's coming home. The man leaves. Evan stares at the check. It feels like blood money. 2 weeks later, the doctor delivers the news. Partial paralysis. Significant nerve damage. Physical therapy might help, but insurance won't cover the aggressive rehab he'd need. Best case scenario? Limited mobility with assistive devices. Worst case, permanent wheelchair dependence. Evan asks about experimental treatments, clinical trials, anything. The doctor shakes his head. Those programs are expensive and competitive. Without additional coverage, you're looking at out-of-pocket costs in the hundreds of thousands. Jasmine stands up, walks out, doesn't come back. Evan goes home 6 weeks after the accident. The house has a ramp now, grab bars in the bathroom, a hospital bed in the living room, because he can't make it upstairs. Rowan hides behind the couch when Evan rolls through the door. The boy doesn't recognize his father anymore, doesn't understand why Daddy's in a chair, doesn't know how to process the way everything has changed. Jasmine lasts another 4 months. She doesn't fight, doesn't yell, just packs her things on a Tuesday morning while Rowan is at daycare. She leaves a note on the kitchen counter, short, clinical, final. "I can't do this. I'm sorry." No forwarding address, no custody battle, no phone calls. She just disappears like smoke. Evan reads the note 17 times before he crumples it up and throws it across the room. His hands shake, his chest feels tight. He wants to scream, but Rowan will be home soon, and he can't let the boy see him fall apart. So he doesn't. He locks the rage down, swallows the grief, puts on a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. When Rowan comes home, Evan tells him Mommy went on a long trip. The boy nods, but he doesn't ask when she's coming back. Kids know things. They always know. The months that follow blur together. Disability checks arrive late. Medical bills pile up faster than Evan can pay them. The settlement money disappears into a black hole of co-pays and rent and groceries. Physical therapy appointments get canceled because insurance won't authorize more sessions. Evan tries to do the exercises at home, stretches, resistance bands, anything to keep his muscles from atrophying, but the pain is constant and progress is slow. Rowan grows, learns to pour his own cereal, learns to tie his shoes, learns to ask for less because he sees the way his father's face tightens when bills arrive. Evan tries to work from home, customer service, data entry, anything he can do sitting down. But jobs that pay enough to matter require schedules he can't keep and reliability he can't promise when some days the pain is so bad he can't think straight. Friends stop calling. Extended family makes excuses. The world moves on without him. By the time Rowan turns 7, Evan has learned 3 things. 1. The system is designed to keep you poor. Apply for help. Lose benefits. Earn too much. Lose coverage. Save money. Get penalized. It's a trap with no exit. 2. People pity you until they have to help you. Then they disappear. 3. Fatherhood doesn't stop just because your body does. The eviction notice arrives on a Thursday. 60 days to vacate. The landlord doesn't return calls. The housing authority waitlist is 2 years long. Evan sits at the kitchen table, staring at the paper, and realizes he's out of options. That's when the church program finds him. Or maybe Corinne finds him first. Evan never figures out which. A social worker shows up at his door with a folder full of forms and a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. She talks about assistance programs, emergency housing, support networks. Then she mentions something else, something that makes Evan's stomach turn. "There's a woman," she says carefully. "She's looking to help someone in your situation. It's unconventional, but it could solve your housing problem. And the custody concerns." Evan's jaw tightens. "What kind of help?" The social worker hesitates. "A domestic arrangement. Legal. She needs someone to care for. You need stability." It could work. Evan wants to throw her out, wants to tell her exactly where she can shove her arrangement. But Rowan is in the next room, playing quietly with toys that are too old for him because Evan can't afford new ones. And the eviction notice is still on the table. And the social worker is watching him with that same practiced patience people use when they know you're out of choices. "I'll think about it," Evan says. He doesn't sleep that night. The letter from Child Services arrives 3 days later. Routine follow-up. Home stability assessment. Questions about living conditions. Nothing threatening. Not yet. But Evan knows how these things work. One bad report. One concerned caseworker. One decision made by someone who doesn't know his name. That's all it takes. He calls the number the social worker left. Corinne Huxley answers on the second ring. Her voice is smooth, professional. She talks about mutual benefit, legal protections, financial security. She never says the word marriage, but Evan hears it anyway. "You'd have housing," she says, "healthcare access, a stable environment for your son. All I ask is that you agree to the arrangement. My stepdaughter needs to be settled. You need support." It's practical. Evan's hands shake. "This is insane. This is survival," Corinne says. "And you're running out of time." She's right. He hates that she's right. The meeting happens in a church basement that smells like burnt coffee and mildew. Maribel Huxley sits across from him at a folding table, hands folded in her lap. She doesn't smile, doesn't make small talk, just sits there, silent, while Corinne explains the terms like she's negotiating a business contract. Evan studies Maribel's face. She looks tired, trapped, like someone who's been backed into a corner and told this is the only way out. He recognizes that look. He sees it in the mirror every morning. "I won't lie to you," Evan says finally. "This isn't what I want, but I'm out of options." Maribel nods. "So am I." Corinne smiles. "Then we have an agreement." Evan signs the papers that night, pen shaking, stomach turning. Rowan asleep upstairs, unaware that his father just sold his dignity to keep a roof over their heads. The wedding is scheduled for 2 weeks later. Evan spends those 2 weeks trying to convince himself this is the right choice, that it's temporary, that he can live with the shame as long as Rowan is safe. But late at night, when the house is quiet and Rowan's breathing is the only sound, Evan does something no one knows about. He stands, grips the edge of the kitchen counter, puts weight on legs that scream in protest, takes one step, then another. The pain is unbearable. His muscles shake. Sweat drips down his face, but he stands. He's been doing this for months. Secret rehab, stolen progress, physical therapy he can't afford, performed in the dark when no one's watching. Because the doctors were wrong. His body isn't completely broken. The nerves are damaged, but not dead. Movement is possible. Limited. Painful, but possible. And Evan Calder has spent 3 years hiding that truth. Because the moment anyone finds out he can walk even a little, the disability benefits disappear. The housing assistance vanishes. The custody protections evaporate. The system doesn't reward progress. It punishes it. So Evan stays in his chair during the day, plays the part, accepts the pity, and at night, when the world isn't watching, he fights like hell to reclaim what was taken from him. He lowers himself back into the wheelchair, wipes his face, breathes through the pain. If they ever found out, they would destroy him. The courthouse hallway is cold. The fluorescent lights hum. Maribel sits 3 feet away, silent and still. Evan grips the armrests of his wheelchair and thinks about all the ways a man can be broken and still refuse to fall. The clerk calls their names. Evan rolls forward, and just before they enter the room, he hears something. A voice, low, familiar, angry. Corinne, on her phone in the hallway. He's perfect, compliant, desperate. And once the marriage is finalized, the settlement money transfers into the trust. He'll never even know. Evan's blood runs cold. He stops, turns. But Corinne is already gone, disappearing around a corner like she was never there. Maribel doesn't seem to notice. She walks ahead, following the clerk. Evan sits frozen in the hallway, heart pounding, mind racing. This isn't just about housing. This isn't just about custody. This is something else entirely. And he just signed his name to it. Maribel Huxley's hands smell like bleach and lavender oil. She scrubs the kitchen counter for the 3rd time in an hour, fingers red and raw, nails bitten down to nothing. The apartment above the elder care facility is small, 1-bedroom, cracked linoleum, a window that won't open all the way, but it's clean. Corinne demands clean. Corinne inspects. Maribel is 29 years old, and she's never made a decision for herself that mattered. The phone on the counter buzzes. She flinches, doesn't look at it, already knows who it is. It buzzes again. She picks it up. "You're late," Corinne says. No greeting, no warmth, just the voice that's been running Maribel's life since she was 14. "I'm coming," Maribel says quietly. "Don't make me wait." The line goes dead. Maribel sets the phone down carefully, like it might explode. Her reflection stares back from the window, thin shoulders, tired eyes, a woman who looks older than her years. She pulls her hair back into a tight bun, smooths her skirt, checks her watch. She's not late. She's never late. But Corinne doesn't care about facts. She cares about control. The elder care facility smells like antiseptic and boiled vegetables. Maribel walks through the side entrance, past the residents in wheelchairs, parked along the hallway like forgotten luggage. "Mrs. Patterson waves. Maribel waves back but doesn't stop. Can't stop. Corinne is waiting in the office on the 3rd floor. And when Corinne waits, someone pays for it. The office door is open. Corinne sits behind a mahogany desk that doesn't belong in a place like this, too expensive, too polished, too much like a throne. She's 53, blonde hair shellacked into place, makeup perfect, smile sharp enough to draw blood. "Sit," Corinne says without looking up from her laptop. Maribel sits. Corinne types for another 30 seconds, deliberately slow, making Maribel wait, making her small. Finally, she closes the laptop, folds her hands, smiles. "We need to talk about your future." Maribel's stomach drops. Nothing good ever starts with those words. "I've been patient with you," Corinne continues. "Very patient. After your father died, I could have sent you away, but I didn't. I gave you a home, a job, stability." Maribel nods. She's heard this speech before. Different words, same message. "You owe me everything." "But stability requires responsibility," Corinne says. "And there's a matter that needs resolving." She slides a folder across the desk. Maribel opens it. Legal documents, property deeds, trust fund clauses. Her father's name at the top, her name halfway down. "Your father left you a trust," Corinne says. "But there are conditions. One of them is that you must be married before you turn 30. Otherwise, The assets revert to me as executor. Maribel's hands shake. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. Because you never pay attention. You just drift through life expecting someone else to take care of everything. Corinne's voice is cold. Clinical. Well, I'm taking care of it now. You're getting married. The words hang in the air like smoke. Maribel stares at her stepmother, tries to find the right words, the ones that will make this stop. But Corinne isn't asking. She never asks. There's a man, Corinne continues. Single father, disabled, desperate. He needs housing assistance. And you need a husband. It's perfect. Maribel's throat tightens. You can't be serious. I'm always serious. Corinne leans back in her chair. His name is Evan Calder. He has a son. He lives in a wheelchair. And he's exactly the kind of man who won't ask questions or make demands. I'm not marrying someone I don't know. You're not marrying him for love. You're marrying him because I'm telling you to. Corinne's smile disappears. And if you refuse, you can pack your things tonight. No job, no apartment, no money. Let's see how far you get on your own. The threat lands like a fist. Maribel knows Corinne means it. She always means it. I've already arranged everything, Corinne says, opening her laptop again. The ceremony is in 2 weeks. You'll move into his house. Play the dutiful wife. Stay long enough for the trust to clear. Then we'll handle the rest. What rest? Corinne doesn't answer, just smiles. Maribel leaves the office on shaking legs. The hallway feels too narrow, the lights too bright. She passes Mrs. Patterson again, but this time she doesn't wave. Just keeps walking, one foot in front of the other, until she reaches the stairwell. She sits on the steps and cries quietly into her hands. This is her life, has always been her life. Corinne decides. Maribel obeys. That's the deal. That's survival. But this is different. This is a person, a child, a man who doesn't deserve to be used like a tool in Corinne's schemes. Maribel wipes her eyes, breathes, thinks. She could run, pack a bag, leave tonight, disappear into some other city where Corinne can't find her. But where would she go? She has no savings, no friends, no family left who would take her in. Corinne made sure of that years ago, cutting ties, spreading lies, isolating Maribel until she had no one. Running isn't an option. It never was. The meeting happens 3 days later. Church basement, folding tables, fluorescent lights that flicker every few seconds. Maribel sits across from Evan Calder and tries not to stare. He's older than she expected, tired, hands gripping the armrests of his wheelchair like he's holding himself together by force of will. His son Rowan, she remembers, sits beside him, swinging his legs, oblivious. Corinne stands at the head of the table, explaining the arrangement like she's negotiating a business merger. Terms, conditions, expectations. Maribel hears the words but doesn't process them. She's too busy watching Evan's face. He looks trapped, same way she feels. I won't lie to you, Evan says finally, looking at Maribel. This isn't what I want, but I'm out of options. Maribel nods. Her voice comes out quiet. So am I. Corinne smiles. Then we have an agreement. Maribel signs the papers because she doesn't know what else to do. Evan signs because he's protecting his son. Corinne signs because she's protecting her money. No one is protecting Maribel. The 2 weeks before the wedding pass in a blur. Maribel packs her things, one suitcase, some books, a photo of her father she keeps hidden from Corinne. She doesn't tell anyone, doesn't say goodbye, just disappears from her own life like she was never there. The night before the wedding, Corinne calls her into the office one last time. Remember, Corinne says, leaning across the desk, voice low and sharp. You're doing this for me, not for him, not for that child, for me. And when I tell you it's time to leave, you leave. No questions, no attachments. Understood? Maribel nods. And one more thing. Corinne's eyes narrow. If he starts to trust you, if he thinks this is real, you shut it down. Sympathy is a tool, Maribel. Don't waste it on someone who doesn't matter. Maribel leaves the office feeling hollow, numb, like someone scooped out her insides and left a shell behind. She stands in the parking lot under a sky heavy with clouds and thinks about all the ways a person can lose themselves. The courthouse is cold, the ceremony is short, the papers are signed. Maribel becomes Maribel Calder and feels nothing. Evan rolls out to the van. Maribel climbs into the passenger seat. They don't speak, don't look at each other. The silence is thick enough to choke on. When they pull up to the house, Rowan is waiting on the steps. He's small, bright-eyed, holding a toy car. He waves like they're coming home from a vacation. "Dad, did you do it? Are you married now?" Evan forces a smile. "Yeah, buddy. We did it." Rowan looks at Maribel. "Are you gonna live with us?" She nods, tries to smile, can't quite manage it. Rowan grabs her hand and pulls her toward the house, talking fast about cereal and cartoons, and something about a fort. Maribel lets herself be pulled, lets the boy's warmth distract her from the cold knot in her chest. Inside, the house is small, but clean. Worn furniture, crayon drawings, taped to the fridge, a ramp leading to the back door. Everything about it screams struggle and survival and love despite everything. Maribel stands in the living room holding her suitcase and realizes something terrible. She's going to ruin this family. Not because she wants to, but because Corinne told her to, and Maribel has never been strong enough to say no. That night, she unpacks in the guest room that will be hers for however long this lasts. She hangs her clothes in the closet, puts her books on the shelf, sets the photo of her father on the nightstand where she can see it. Then she sits on the edge of the bed and cries. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, steady tears that won't stop. She hears footsteps in the hallway. Rowan's voice, bright and happy, talking to his father. Evan's deeper voice, patient and kind, answering questions about bedtime and breakfast, and whether Maribel likes pancakes. Maribel wipes her eyes, stands, looks at herself in the mirror. She sees a woman who's been used her entire life, a woman who's about to use someone else because she doesn't know how to stop. She thinks about Evan's face at the courthouse, the way he gripped those armrests, the way his jaw tightened when Corinne spoke. He's not a bad man, he's just desperate. And desperation makes people easy to manipulate. Maribel knows that better than anyone. She opens the bedroom door and steps into the hallway. The house is quiet now. Rowan is asleep. Evan is in the living room, transferring from his wheelchair to the couch. She watches from the doorway, careful not to be seen. His arms shake with the effort. His face tightens with pain. But he doesn't ask for help, doesn't complain, just does what needs to be done. And then something strange. He pauses, looks around, listening, making sure he's alone. Then he shifts his weight, plants his feet, and pushes himself up. Not all the way, not standing, but close. Too close for someone who's supposed to be paralyzed. Maribel's breath catches. She steps back into the shadows, heart pounding. What did she just see? Evan lowers himself back into the chair, exhales, closes his eyes. Maribel retreats to her room, shuts the door, and leans against it. Her mind races, her hands shake. Evan Calder isn't what he seems. And if Corinne finds out, she'll destroy him. The coffee maker hisses at 5:47 a.m. Maribel stands in the kitchen, barefoot on cold linoleum, watching dark liquid drip into a chipped mug. The house is silent except for the gurgle of water and the distant hum of a refrigerator that sounds like it's dying. She didn't sleep, couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Evan pushing himself up from that wheelchair, muscles straining, face twisted with effort and pain. She wraps her hands around the mug, burns her palms, doesn't let go. Behind her, wheels creak on hardwood. She turns. Evan rolls into the kitchen, hair still messy from sleep, wearing a faded t-shirt and sweatpants. He stops when he sees her. Surprise flickers across his face, then something else. Caution. "You're up early," he says. "Couldn't sleep." Maribel's voice comes out rougher than she intended. She clears her throat. Coffee? Yeah, thanks. She pours him a cup. Their fingers brush when she hands it to him. He pulls back, like she's electric. They drink in silence. The clock above the stove ticks too loud. Somewhere down the hall, Rowan mumbles in his sleep. Listen, Evan says finally, setting his mug on the counter. I know this is weird, the whole situation, but we don't have to make it harder than it is. You do your thing. I do mine. We keep Rowan fed and safe. That's the deal. Maribel nods. Okay. I'm not expecting anything from you. You're not my wife. You're just... He stops. Searches for the word. Someone who's here. The words land like stones. Someone who's here. Not a person. Not a partner. Just a body occupying space. Maribel should feel relieved. This is exactly what Corinne told her to do. Stay distant. Don't get involved. Don't care. But something in Evan's voice, something tired and resigned and deeply, quietly broken, makes her chest tighten. I can make breakfast, she offers. Evan looks at her like she just spoke a foreign language. You don't have to. I know. But I'm awake anyway. He studies her face, searching for something. A trap, maybe? A hidden agenda? Then he nods. Rowan likes eggs. Scrambled. No cheese. Got it. Evan rolls toward the living room. Pauses at the doorway. Maribel? She turns. Thank you, he says quietly. Then he's gone. Maribel stands alone in the kitchen, holding an empty coffee mug, and wonders what she just agreed to. Rowan explodes into the kitchen at 7:15 a.m., like a small, loud tornado. Is she making breakfast? Dad, she's making breakfast. Do you know how to make pancakes? Can you make pancakes? I like pancakes, but Dad always burns them, and then the smoke detector goes off and it's really loud. Rowan, Evan says from the living room. Breathe. The boy takes an exaggerated breath, grins at Maribel. Hi, she says, cracking eggs into a bowl. Are you going to live here forever? Maribel's hands still. She glances at Evan, who's suddenly very interested in the newspaper he's not reading. I don't know, she says honestly. Oh. Rowan climbs onto a chair, kneeling so he can see over the counter. Do you like dinosaurs? I don't know much about them. I can teach you. I know everything about dinosaurs. Dad says I talk about them too much, but I don't think that's possible, because dinosaurs are the best thing ever, except maybe pizza. Rowan, Evan says again. Let her cook. The boy keeps talking anyway, about T-Rexes and velociraptors, and some show he watched where the dinosaurs could talk. Maribel listens, half-focused, scrambling eggs, while Rowan's voice fills the kitchen with noise that feels almost like warmth. She plates the food, sets it on the table. Rowan digs in immediately, still talking between bites. Evan eats slowly, methodically, like someone who's learned to appreciate meals because he's gone without them before. Maribel sits across from them with her own plate, picks at her eggs, watches. This is what a family looks like, she thinks. Broken and improvised, and held together with duct tape and desperation, but still a family. She's never had one of those. After breakfast, Rowan disappears into his room to play. Evan washes dishes in the sink well, tries to. The counter is too high. His chair doesn't fit under it properly. He has to lean forward at an awkward angle, water splashing his shirt. Maribel watches from the doorway, sees the way his shoulders tense, the way his jaw clenches, the way he refuses to ask for help even though he clearly needs it. I can do that, she says. I've got it. The counter's too high. I said I've got it. His voice is sharp, final. Maribel steps back. Okay. He scrubs a plate too hard. It slips, shatters in the sink. Water sprays everywhere. Evan freezes, stares at the broken ceramic like it's a personal failure. I'll get it, Maribel says quietly, moving forward with the towel. Don't. She's already picking up the pieces, wrapping them in paper towels, wiping down the counter. Evan watches her, hands gripping the edge of the sink, knuckles white. I don't need you to clean up after me, he says. I know. I'm not helpless. I didn't say you were. He doesn't respond, just rolls back from the sink, water still dripping from his shirt, and disappears into the living room. Maribel finishes cleaning, throws the broken plate away, stands in the kitchen alone, and realizes she's already breaking Corinne's rules. Don't get involved. Don't care. Too late. The days develop a rhythm. Not comfortable exactly, but functional. Maribel wakes early, makes coffee, sometimes breakfast. Rowan bounces between them like a pinball, full of energy and questions. Evan keeps his distance, polite but cold, like she's a tenant instead of a wife. She learns things without meaning to. Evan takes his coffee black, hates being asked if he needs help, reads the same 3 library books over and over because he can't afford new ones. Talks to Rowan in a voice so gentle it makes Maribel's chest hurt. Rowan collects rocks, hates bedtime, asks too many questions and listens to the answers like they're the most important thing in the world. Tucks blankets around his father's legs every night before bed like a ritual. The house creaks at night. Pipes rattle. The heater clicks on and off. And sometimes late, when everyone's supposed to be asleep, Maribel hears movement from the living room. The first time, she thinks it's nothing. The second time, she tells herself she's imagining things. The third time, she gets up. She stands in the hallway, barefoot, heart pounding. Moonlight cuts through the living room window. She can see Evan's shape in the shadows. He's not in the wheelchair. He's standing, gripping the back of the couch with both hands, feet planted, legs trembling, face twisted with concentration. He takes one step, then another, slow, shaking, like someone learning to walk for the first time. Maribel's breath catches. She should leave, go back to her room, pretend she didn't see. But she can't move. Evan takes a third step. His leg buckles. He grabs the couch harder, steadying himself, breathing hard. Then he lowers himself back into the chair, wipes sweat from his face, closes his eyes. Maribel retreats to her room before he can see her, shuts the door, leans against it. Her mind races. Evan can walk? Not well. Not far. But he can walk. Which means everything Corinne said, everything about him being dependent, helpless, easy to control is wrong. Which means Evan has been lying. To everyone. Including the people who decide whether he keeps his son. Maribel sits on the edge of her bed, staring at the photo of her father on the nightstand. She should tell Corinne. That's the smart move. The safe move. Corinne needs to know she's being played. But something stops her. Maybe it's the way Evan's hands shook when he gripped that couch. Maybe it's the desperation in his face. Maybe it's the fact that for the first time in her life, Maribel has power over someone else and she doesn't know what to do with it. She lies awake until sunrise, trying to decide who she is. The next morning, Evan is already in the kitchen when she comes in. Coffee's made. He's reading something on his phone, face tight. "Everything okay?" she asks. He doesn't look up. "Fine." "You sure?" I said fine. His tone leaves no room for argument. Maribel pours coffee, sits at the table, watches him pretend to read while tension radiates off him like heat. "Evan," she says carefully, "if something's wrong, nothing's wrong. You're a bad liar." He finally looks up. His eyes are hard, guarded. "And you're not my wife. Not really. So whatever you think you see, whatever you think you know, it's none of your business." The words sting. Maribel sets her mug down. "Okay. I mean it." I said okay. They sit in hostile silence. The clock ticks. The refrigerator hums. Rowan's footsteps thump overhead. Evan's phone buzzes. He glances at it. His face goes pale. "What?" Maribel asks before she can stop herself. He doesn't answer, just stares at the screen like it's a death sentence. Maribel leans forward. "Evan, what is it?" He turns the phone around, shows her the message. "Home visit scheduled. Next Tuesday, 9 a.m. Please ensure living conditions meet standards for continued custody. Child Services." Maribel's stomach drops. "They do this sometimes," Evan says quietly. "Random checks. Making sure everything's stable. Making sure Rowan's safe. That's good, right?" You're doing fine. They're looking for reasons to take him. Evan's voice cracks. That's what they do. They find something wrong, something not perfect. And then they take your kid and tell you it's for his own good. Maribel sees the fear in his face. Raw, unfiltered, the kind that comes from experience. What do they check? She asks. Everything. Clean house, working heat, food in the fridge, stable guardian. Proof I can take care of him. He laughs bitterly. Proof I'm not a burden. You're not. I'm in a wheelchair, Maribel. I need ramps and grab bars and help opening jars. They look at me and see risk. They look at Rowan and see kid who deserves better. That's not fair. Fair doesn't matter. This is how it works. Rowan's footsteps thunder down the stairs. He bursts into the kitchen, grinning. Can we have pancakes? Evan's face transforms. The fear vanishes behind a smile that looks almost real. Sure, buddy. Maribel, you mind? I'll make them, she says. Rowan cheers. Evan mouths thank you across the table. And Maribel realizes something terrible. She's not leaving. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Because if she leaves now, if she walks away and lets this family collapse, she'll never forgive herself. And Corinne cold. Calculating Corinne will notice. Will ask questions. Will wonder why Maribel suddenly cares about a man and a child who are supposed to mean nothing. Maribel stands at the stove, flipping pancakes, feeling the trap close around her. She's supposed to stay distant, stay cold, stay useful only to Corinne. But Rowan is laughing, and Evan is trying so hard to hold everything together, and the house smells like breakfast instead of despair. And somewhere in the last few days, Maribel stopped being someone who's just here. That night, she hears Evan moving again, hears the wheelchair creak, hears his breath hitch with effort. She gets up, walks to her doorway, watches. He's standing again, gripping furniture, taking careful, painful steps across the living room floor. This time, he sees her. They lock eyes across the darkness. Neither of them speaks. Evan lowers himself back into the chair, wipes his face, looks at her with something that might be defiance, or fear, or both. How long have you been able to do that? Maribel asks quietly. Long enough. Does anyone else know? No. Why not? Evan's jaw tightens. Because the system punishes progress. I show improvement. I lose benefits. I lose benefits. I lose housing. I lose housing. I lose Rowan. That's how it works. Maribel steps into the room. Closer. Not threatening. Just present. So you've been hiding it. Every single day. That must be exhausting. He laughs bitter. Broken. You have no idea. Maribel sits on the couch. Not close enough to touch. Just close enough to be real. Your secret's safe with me. Evan studies her face. Searching. Why? Because I know what it's like to be trapped. They sit in silence. Two people bound by secrets they didn't choose. Finally, Evan speaks. The home visit on Tuesday. If they find out, they won't. You don't know that. I'll make sure they don't. Evan stares at her. Why would you do that? Maribel doesn't have an answer. Or maybe she does, and she's too scared to say it. Because Rowan deserves his father, she says instead. It's not the whole truth. But it's enough. Evan nods slowly. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. She stands, walks back to her room, closes the door, and realizes with cold, creeping certainty that she just chose a side. Not Corinne's side, not her own side, Evan's. If Corinne finds out, Maribel will lose everything. But if she does nothing, Evan and Rowan will lose everything. She lies in bed, staring at the ceiling, and wonders when she became someone brave enough to care. Her phone buzzes on the nightstand. Corinne's name lights up the screen. Call me. Now. Maribel's heart stops. She stares at the phone, watches it buzz again. Again. Her finger hovers over the screen. If she answers, Corinne will ask questions, will demand updates, will sense something's changed. If she doesn't answer, Corinne will know something's wrong. The phone buzzes one more time. then stops. Maribel sets it down, turns it face down, pulls the blanket over her head, and prays that whatever Corinne wants, it can wait until morning. If you're still watching, drop a comment. Would you answer that call? And if this story has you hooked, subscribe right now. Turn on those notifications. Because the home visit is coming, Corinne is suspicious, and everything is about to explode. Don't miss what happens next. Share your thoughts below. Inspire someone else. Let's keep going together. The bedroom smells like cheap lavender air freshener and fear. Maribel sits on the edge of the bed, hands folded in her lap, staring at the wall. The clock reads 11:47 p.m. Downstairs, the house is quiet. Rowan is asleep. Evan, somewhere in the living room, doing whatever he does when he thinks no one's watching. Her phone sits on the nightstand. Dark, silent, accusing. Corinne called 4 more times after that first message. Left 3 voicemails Maribel hasn't listened to. Sent 2 texts that just say, "Call me." Maribel knows what happens when you ignore Corinne. The consequences come fast and sharp and leave marks you can't see. But something's changed. Something shifted the moment she promised Evan his secret was safe. The moment she chose a paralyzed single father and his 7-year-old son over the woman who's controlled her entire life. She doesn't feel brave. She feels terrified. Her phone buzzes. Another text. "You have until tomorrow morning. Then I'm coming there myself." Maribel's stomach turns. She picks up the phone, types 3 words, deletes them, types them again. "I need time." The response is instant. Time for what? Maribel stares at the screen. Her fingers hover over the keyboard. She could tell the truth that she's confused, that this isn't what she expected, that these people are real and broken and trying, and she doesn't know how to be the weapon Corinne wants her to be. But Corinne doesn't care about confusion. She cares about results. Making sure everything looks right for the home visit, Maribel types. 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. "Fine. But after Tuesday, we talk. Face to face. No excuses." Maribel doesn't respond, just sets the phone down and tries to breathe. She has 4 days. 4 days to figure out how to protect Evan, pass the inspection, and keep Corinne from destroying everything. 4 days before her 2 worlds collide. Downstairs, something crashes. Maribel's on her feet before she thinks, rushes to the hallway, listens. "I'm fine." Evan's voice, sharp and frustrated. "I'm fine, just damn it." She should go back to her room, mind her business, stay out of it. Instead, she walks downstairs. Evan's in the kitchen. His wheelchair is overturned near the table. He's on the floor, half sitting, hands braced against the linoleum. A glass of water spreads in a puddle around him, soaking into his sweatpants. "I said I'm fine," he snaps before she can speak. Maribel doesn't respond, just grabs a towel from the counter and kneels beside him, starts soaking up the water. "I don't need." "I know." She keeps cleaning. Evan watches her, jaw tight, breathing hard. His wheelchair lies on its side, a few feet away, one wheel still spinning slowly. "I was reaching for the glass," he says finally. "Lost my balance." Happens. Not to most people. Maribel wrings out the towel in the sink, looks at him, really looks. His face is flushed, sweat beads on his forehead. His hands shake slightly where they press against the floor. "How long were you on the floor before I came down?" she asks. 5 minutes, maybe 10. "Why didn't you call for help?" His eyes flash. "Because I don't need help. Everyone needs help sometimes." "Yeah? When's the last time you asked for it?" The words land like a slap. Maribel sits back on her heels, stares at him, sees herself reflected in his anger, all that stubborn, self-destructive pride, born from too many years of being told, "You're a burden." "Fair point," she says quietly. Evan's expression shifts. The anger drains away, leaving something raw. "I'm sorry. That was true." They sit on the kitchen floor, water pooling between them. 2 people who've spent their whole lives pretending they don't need anyone. "Can I help you up?" Maribel asks. Evan hesitates, then nods. She rights the wheelchair first, locks the wheels, then positions herself beside him. He drapes his arm across her shoulders. She wraps hers around his waist. On 3, they lift together. He's heavier than she expected. Solid. Real. His weight presses against her as they maneuver toward the chair. His breath is hot against her ear. She can feel his heart pounding through his shirt. They make it. He drops into the wheelchair with a grunt of relief. Maribel steps back, breathing hard. "Thank you," he says. "You're welcome." They don't move, don't speak. The kitchen clock ticks too loud. Finally, Evan breaks the silence. "The home visit. Tuesday. I need you to understand what's at stake." Maribel nods. "Tell me." "They'll check everything. Cleanliness, safety, stability. They'll ask Rowan questions, private questions, about me, about you, about whether he feels safe here. And if they find something wrong, they take him. Emergency placement, foster care. I get supervised visits if I'm lucky." His voice cracks. "I lose my son." Maribel's chest tightens. "That won't happen. You don't know that." I'll make sure it doesn't." Evan looks at her. Really looks. Like he's trying to see past her words to the truth underneath. "Why are you doing this?" "I told you." "No. Really. Why?" Maribel opens her mouth, closes it, searches for the right words. "Because you're a good father. Because Rowan needs you. Because I've never seen someone fight this hard for something that matters. Because for the first time in my life, I want to be someone worth believing in." But she can't say any of that. So she says the only true thing she can manage, because it's the right thing to do. Evan studies her face, then nods slowly. "Okay. Okay." He rolls toward the living room, stops at the doorway. "Maribel? Yeah? I know you're hiding something. I don't know what. But whatever it is, whatever reason you really agreed to this, I hope it's worth it." He's gone before she can respond. Maribel stands alone in the kitchen, cold water soaking through her socks, and realizes Evan sees more than she thought. The next 3 days pass in a blur of cleaning and preparation. Maribel scrubs floors until her hands ache, organizes cabinets, stocks the fridge with more food than they need, makes sure Rowan's room looks lived in but not chaotic, washes curtains, dusts baseboards, checks smoke detectors. Evan watches her work with something like bewilderment. "You don't have to do all this," he says on Sunday afternoon, watching her reorganize the pantry for the 3rd time. "Yes, I do. The house was clean before. Clean isn't good enough. It has to be perfect." He's quiet for a moment. "You sound like you've done this before." Maribel's hand still on a can of soup. Corinne ran inspections at the elder care facility. Random. Unannounced. If anything was out of place, people got written up or fired. That's insane. That's control. She feels Evan's eyes on her back, feels the question he's not asking. What else did Corinne control? "I'm going to check on Rowan," Evan says finally, and rolls away. Maribel finishes organizing, then reorganizes, then stands in the middle of the kitchen and wonders if she's preparing for a home visit or trying to fix something that broke in her years ago. Monday night, Corinne calls again. Maribel stares at the phone, lets it ring 3 times. 4, 5. On the 6th ring, she answers. "You've been avoiding me," Corinne says. No greeting, just accusation. "I've been busy." "Busy playing house?" Maribel's jaw tightens, making sure everything's ready for the inspection. "How domestic of you." The sarcasm drips like poison. Maribel closes her eyes, counts to 3. "What do you want, Corinne?" "What I want is for you to remember why you're there. You're not his wife. You're not that child's mother. You're a placeholder until I can access the trust funds. Nothing more." "I know." "Do you?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you're getting attached." "I'm not." "Good. Because after Tuesday, we move to phase 2. Maribel's blood runs cold. "What's phase 2? "You'll find out soon enough. Just pass the inspection, keep your head down, and remember who you answer to." The line goes dead. Maribel sets the phone down with shaking hands. Phase 2. What the hell is phase 2? She thinks about Corinne's office, the folders, the legal documents, the way she smiled when she talked about Evan like he was livestock instead of a person. Whatever phase 2 is, it's not good. Maribel lies awake all night, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how to protect people from a woman who's been winning this game her entire life. Tuesday morning arrives cold and gray. Maribel wakes at 5 a.m., makes coffee she doesn't drink, and starts a final sweep of the house. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be… Relax, Evan says from the doorway. You're going to wear a hole in the floor. I just want… I know. But you've done enough. The house looks great. Better than it ever has. Maribel stops pacing, looks at him. He's wearing a clean shirt, hair combed, face shaved, trying to look put together, trying to look like a man who has his life under control. She sees the fear underneath. We're going to be fine, she says. You keep saying that, because it's true. Rowan bounces into the kitchen, wearing mismatched socks and a dinosaur shirt. Is the lady coming today? The one who asks questions? Yeah, buddy, Evan says, but it's nothing to worry about. Just be yourself, okay? Okay. Rowan grabs a granola bar from the counter. Can I show her my rock collection? If she asks. The doorbell rings at exactly 9 a.m. Maribel's stomach drops. Evan's hands tighten on his armrests. Rowan looks between them, suddenly nervous. I'll get it, Maribel says. She walks to the door, smooths her shirt, takes a breath, opens it. The social worker is younger than expected, mid-30s, tired eyes, carrying a tablet and a folder thick with paperwork. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Mrs. Calder? The name sounds wrong, foreign, but Maribel nods. Yes, come in. The woman steps inside, scans the living room with practiced efficiency, noting details, filing them away. I'm Jennifer Hayes. I'll be conducting today's assessment. She extends her hand. Maribel shakes it. The woman's grip is firm, professional. This won't take long. Just a few questions and a walkthrough to ensure everything meets standards. Of course, Maribel says. Her voice sounds calm, steady, nothing like the panic clawing at her chest. Evan rolls forward. Miss Hayes, good to see you again. Mr. Calder. The woman's tone is neutral, careful. She glances at her tablet. And this must be Rowan? Rowan peers out from behind the couch, waves shyly. Hey there, Jennifer says, softening slightly. You doing okay? Rowan nods. Good. I'll want to talk to you in a bit. If that's okay? Another nod. Jennifer turns back to Evan and Maribel. Let's start with some basic questions. Mrs. Calder, how long have you been living here? 2 weeks. And how would you describe the living arrangement? Maribel's mind races. What's the right answer? What does she want to hear? Stable, Maribel says carefully. We're figuring things out, but Rowan's doing well. He's safe. He's cared for. Jennifer makes a note. Mr. Calder, has the marriage improved your housing situation? Yes, Evan says. Significantly. And you're both committed to providing a stable environment for Rowan? Absolutely, they say in unison. Jennifer's eyes flicker between them, assessing. I'll need to see the rest of the house. Kitchen, bedrooms, bathroom. Standard procedure. They give her the tour. She checks the fridge full. The smoke detector's working. Rowan's room clean but lived in. The bathroom grab bars installed. Everything accessible. She makes notes, asks questions, watches how Evan and Maribel interact, how Rowan responds to them. Finally, she asks to speak to Rowan alone. Evan's face goes pale. Is that necessary? It's standard, Jennifer says gently. Just a few minutes. They have no choice. Evan and Maribel wait in the kitchen, while Jennifer takes Rowan into the living room. The door stays open, but they can't hear what's being said. Maribel watches Evan, sees his hands gripping the armrests, sees the terror in his eyes. He'll be fine, she whispers. You don't know that. He loves you. That's all that matters. 15 minutes later, Jennifer emerges. Her face is unreadable. Thank you for your time, she says. I'll submit my report by end of day. You should hear something within the week. That's it? Evan asks. That's it. She gathers her things, heads for the door, pauses. For what it's worth, she says quietly. Rowan seems happy. That counts for something. Then she's gone. The door closes. Silence fills the house. Evan exhales slowly, drops his head into his hands. Maribel stands frozen, heart still pounding. Rowan appears in the doorway. Did I do good? You did great, buddy, Evan says, voice thick. Come here. Rowan runs to him. Evan pulls him into a fierce hug. Maribel watches them, father and son, holding each other like the world just tried to tear them apart. Her phone buzzes in her pocket. She pulls it out. A text from Corinne. How did it go? Maribel stares at the message, then types 2 words. We passed. 3 dots appear, then disappear, then reappear. Good. Now we move forward. I'll be there Thursday, 6 p.m. Don't make me wait. Maribel's hands start to shake. Phase 2 is coming, and she has less than 48 hours to figure out what it means and how to stop it. Evan Calder's legs are on fire. He stands in the darkness of the living room at 2:14 a.m., both hands gripping the back of the couch, every muscle in his body screaming. Sweat drips down his face. His breath comes in short, ragged gasps. Pain shoots up his spine like lightning. One more step. Just one more. He lifts his right foot, inches it forward, sets it down. His knee buckles. He catches himself on the couch, knuckles white, arms shaking. This is the farthest he's walked in 3 years. 6 steps from the wheelchair to the couch. 6 steps that feel like 6 miles. He closes his eyes, counts his breaths, waits for the pain to dial down from unbearable to merely agonizing. Then he hears it. A creak on the stairs. His eyes snap open. He turns his head slowly. Maribel stands on the bottom step, hand on the railing, staring at him. She's wearing an old t-shirt and pajama pants, hair loose around her shoulders, eyes wide. Not with surprise, with something else. Understanding, maybe. Or recognition. They stare at each other across the darkness. Evan should say something, explain, defend himself. But his legs are shaking so hard he can barely stay upright, and all his energy is focused on not collapsing right in front of her. How long? Maribel asks quietly. Her voice cuts through the silence like a knife. Evan's jaw tightens. How long what? Don't. She steps into the living room. Closer. How long have you been able to walk? He could lie. Could tell her she's seeing things. That it's the shadows. That she's confused. But he's so tired of lying. 8 months, he says. Maybe 9. 8 months. She repeats the words like she's testing their weight. And no one knows? No one can know. Why not? You really asking me that? Evan's voice comes out harsh, raw. You've been here 2 weeks. You've seen how this works. Disability gets reviewed. Progress gets punished. I show improvement. They cut benefits. They cut benefits. I lose housing assistance. I lose housing. I lose custody. It's not complicated. Maribel moves closer. He can see her face now in the moonlight streaming through the window. She's not angry, not shocked, just watching him with those dark eyes that see too much. So you hide it, she says. Every single day. That must be exhausting. You have no idea. His right leg gives out. He catches himself against the couch, gasping. Pain explodes through his hip. He hears Maribel move toward him. Don't, he snaps. I've got it. You can barely stand. I said I've got it. She stops, watches him struggle, doesn't leave, doesn't judge, just stands there while he fights his own body for control. Finally, he lowers himself back into the wheelchair. His legs feel like rubber. His hands won't stop shaking. He wants to scream, wants to punch something, wants to be anyone other than the man he is right now. The doctors said I'd never walk again, he says quietly. Said the nerve damage was too severe, but they were wrong. Or maybe not wrong, maybe just not right enough. I started doing the exercises on my own. At night, when Rowan was asleep, little movements at first, just trying to feel something below my waist. He pauses. Maribel sits on the arm of the couch, listening. Took 4 months before I could stand, he continues. Another 2 before I could take a step. I fall more than I succeed. The pain never stops. But it's possible. Walking is possible. Just not practical. Not sustainable. And definitely not legal, if I want to keep getting assistance. So you perform during the day, Maribel says. Helpless, disabled dad. And at night you train in secret. That's about it. That's insane. That's survival. Evan looks at her. You gonna tell Corinne? The question hangs between them like smoke. Maribel doesn't answer right away. She stares at her hands, at the floor, at anything but him. No, she says finally. Why not? Because I know what it's like to hide who you are just to survive. The words land soft but heavy. Evan studies her face, sees something there. He recognizes the exhaustion that comes from wearing a mask so long you forget what your real face looks like. What are you hiding? He asks. Maribel stands. Nothing you need to worry about. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. She walks toward the stairs, pauses, turns back. Your secret's safe, she says. But Evan? Yeah? Whatever Corinne's planning, whatever reason she really forced this marriage, it's not about helping you. And when I figure out what it is, you need to be ready to run. She's gone before he can respond. Evan sits alone in his wheelchair, heart pounding, and realizes 2 things. 1. Maribel just became the most dangerous person in his life. 2. She might also be the only person he can trust. Morning comes too fast. Rowan bounces into the kitchen at 7 a.m., talking about a dream involving dinosaurs and spaceships. Evan makes scrambled eggs, while Maribel sets the table. They move around each other with careful politeness, neither mentioning what happened in the dark. But something's shifted. Evan feels it, sees it in the way Maribel looks at him, not with pity, but with something closer to solidarity. Dad, Rowan says through a mouthful of eggs, can Maribel come to my school thing on Friday? Evan glances at her. What school thing? The family day, Rowan says like it's obvious. Remember? Everyone brings their family and we do crafts and stuff. Evan forgot. Of course he forgot. He's been so focused on surviving the home visit and hiding his secrets that he completely missed the permission slip that came home last week. I don't know if Maribel. I'll go, Maribel says. Rowan's face lights up. Really? Sure. What time? 3 o'clock. And we're making clay sculptures, and you get to meet Mr. Henderson, and he's really nice. And, Rowan, Evan says gently, breathe. The boy takes an exaggerated breath, grins, shoves more eggs in his mouth. Maribel catches Evan's eye across the table. He mouths, thank you. She nods. For a moment, just a brief, fragile moment, they feel like a real family. Then Maribel's phone buzzes on the counter. She picks it up. Her face goes pale. What? Evan asks. She shows him the screen. A text from Corinne. Change of plans. Coming tonight? 8 p.m. Be ready. Tonight. Not Thursday. Tonight. Maribel's hands start shaking. What does she want? Evan asks. I don't know. Her voice is barely a whisper. But it's not good. Maribel, I have to go. She stands abruptly. I need to make a call. She's out of the kitchen before Evan can stop her. He hears her footsteps on the stairs. A door closing. Muffled voices. Rowan looks up from his plate. Is she okay? I think so, buddy. She seems sad. Kids see everything. Evan ruffles his son's hair. Finish your breakfast. Upstairs, behind a closed door, Maribel paces, her phone pressed to her ear. Ringing. Ringing. Corinne answers on the 4th ring. Why are you coming early? Maribel asks. No greeting. No pretense. Because I've been patient long enough. Corinne's voice is cold, sharp. We need to finalize phase 2 while the window's still open. What window? What are you talking about? I'll explain tonight. Just make sure you're alone when I arrive. No husband. No kid. Just you. Corinne, what is phase 2? You'll find out soon enough. 8 p.m., Maribel. Don't make me hunt you down. The line goes dead. Maribel sits on the edge of the bed, staring at the phone. Her heart hammers against her ribs. Phase 2. Finalizing. Window closing. None of this sounds like it ends with Evan and Rowan safe. She thinks about last night. About Evan standing in the dark, fighting his own body, refusing to give up. About Rowan asking her to come to school like she's actually part of this family. About the way Evan looked at her this morning like maybe, just maybe, he's starting to trust her. And she thinks about Corinne, about years of control and manipulation and being told she's nothing without the Huxley name. Maribel stands, looks at herself in the mirror. She sees a woman who's spent her whole life being used. And she decides right there, right now, that it stops tonight. The day drags. Maribel cleans obsessively. Evan works on his laptop, trying to focus, failing. Rowan plays in his room, oblivious to the tension crackling through the house like static electricity. At 6 p.m., Maribel starts making dinner. Spaghetti. Simple, comforting. Evan rolls into the kitchen. You don't have to. I know. He watches her stir the sauce. What did Corinne say? That she's coming at 8. What else? Maribel doesn't answer. Just keeps stirring. Maribel. Evan's voice is firm. What else? She sets down the spoon, turns to face him. She wants me alone when she gets here. No you. No Rowan. Why? I don't know. But whatever she's planning, it's going to hurt you. How do you know? Because hurting people is what Corinne does best. They stare at each other. The sauce bubbles on the stove. The clock ticks on the wall. I'm not leaving, Evan says. You have to. This is my house, and she'll destroy you if you get in her way. Let her try. Maribel's chest tightens. Evan, you don't understand. Then help me understand. Tell me what's really going on. Tell me why you agreed to this marriage. Tell me what she has on you. Maribel opens her mouth. The truth sits right there on her tongue. Heavy, terrifying. But before she can speak, Rowan appears in the doorway. Is dinner ready? I'm starving. The moment breaks. Maribel forces a smile. Almost, sweetie. They eat together. Quiet. Tense. Rowan chatters about school and rocks and dinosaurs, filling the silence with noise that feels almost normal. At 7:45, Maribel clears the plates. Rowan, Evan says carefully, how about you and I go to the library for a bit? Get some books? But it's almost bedtime. Special treat tonight. Rowan's eyes light up. Really? Really? Can Maribel come? Not tonight, buddy. She's got some things to take care of. Rowan looks between them, sensing something but too young to name it. Okay. Evan gets Rowan ready, grabs his jacket, wheels toward the door. He stops beside Maribel, looks up at her. Whatever she says, he tells her quietly. Don't believe it. And don't do anything you can't take back. I won't. Promise me. I promise. He holds her gaze a moment longer, then nods and rolls outside, Rowan skipping beside him. The house falls silent. Maribel stands in the empty living room, listening to her own heartbeat. At 7:58, headlights sweep across the window. A car door slams. Heels click on the walkway. The doorbell rings. Maribel opens the door. Corinne stands on the porch, perfectly dressed, perfectly composed, smiling that smile that never reaches her eyes. Hello, Maribel, she says. We need to talk. She walks past Maribel without waiting for an invitation, scans the living room with practiced efficiency. Where's the husband? Library. With Rowan. Good. Corinne sets her purse on the coffee table, sits on the couch like she owns it. Sit down. Maribel sits. Her hands won't stop shaking. Corinne pulls out a folder, sets it on the table between them. Phase 2 is simple. You're going to file for an emergency protection order against Evan Calder. The words don't make sense. Maribel stares at her. What? You're going to claim he's dangerous, unstable, a threat to you and the child. The order will remove him from the home immediately. Rowan goes into temporary custody. The housing assistance transfers to you as the remaining guardian. And the settlement funds, Corinne smiles, become accessible under the trust provisions. Maribel's blood runs cold. You want me to lie, to get him kicked out of his own house, to take his son. I want you to do what you agreed to do. I never agreed to this. You agreed to marry him. You agreed to follow my instructions. This is an instruction. No, Maribel stands. I'm not doing it. Corinne's eyes narrow. Excuse me? You heard me. I'm not filing a false report. I'm not taking Rowan. I'm not helping you steal from Evan. Helping me? Corinne laughs. Cold. Sharp. Darling, you already helped me. The moment you signed that marriage certificate, you activated the trust clauses. All I need now is sole custody access. And you're going to give it to me. No, I'm not. Corinne stands slowly, walks toward Maribel, gets close, too close. Then I'll do it myself, she says quietly. And I'll make sure everyone knows you were complicit from the start. The judge, the social worker, Evan Calder himself. You'll lose everything, and you'll go to jail for fraud. You can't prove. I have emails, recordings, bank transfers, everything you signed, everything you said. I've been documenting this from day one. Corinne's smile is vicious. You really thought I'd trust you without insurance? Maribel feels the trap close around her, feels the walls closing in. So here's what's going to happen, Corinne continues. You're going to file that report tomorrow morning, or I'm going to destroy you both. Your choice. She picks up her purse, walks to the door, pauses. Oh, and Maribel? If you warn him, if you tell him any of this, I'll make sure that little boy ends up somewhere Evan Calder will never find him. Are we clear? Maribel can't breathe, can't think, can't. Corinne leaves. The door clicks shut. Silence fills the house like poison. Maribel stands in the middle of the living room, shaking, and realizes she's standing at a crossroads. She can save herself, file the report, let Corinne win, walk away with clean hands legally, even if her soul burns. Or she can fight back, risk everything, lose everything, but maybe, just maybe, save the one family she's ever cared about. Her phone buzzes. A text from Evan. We're on our way back. You okay? Maribel stares at the message. She types 3 words. We need to talk. Then she sits on the couch, picks up the folder Corinne left behind, and starts reading. Because if she's going to fight, she needs to know exactly what she's fighting against. And when Evan walks through that door, she's going to tell him everything, even if it destroys her. If you're still here, drop a comment right now. What should Maribel do? And subscribe, because the next chapter is the war. Turn on notifications. Share this story. Let's finish what Corinne started. Together. The front door opens at 8:47 p.m. Rowan runs in first, clutching 3 library books about volcanoes. His voice fills the house before his feet hit the floor. Maribel, look what I got. One of them has pictures of lava and... He stops, sees her face. Are you crying? Maribel wipes her eyes quickly, forces a smile that cracks at the edges. Just tired, sweetie. Evan rolls in behind Rowan. His eyes find hers immediately. Lock on, he sees the folder on the coffee table. Sees Corinne's purse print still dented in the couch cushion. Sees everything. Rowan, he says calmly, go brush your teeth. I'll be up in 5 minutes to read. But I want to show Maribel. Now, buddy. Something in Evan's voice makes the boy obey. Rowan heads upstairs, glancing back once with worried eyes. The moment his door closes, Evan wheels forward. What happened? Maribel's hands shake as she picks up the folder. She was here. I know. What did she say? Everything. The whole plan. Why she forced this marriage. What she wants from you. Her voice breaks. What she wants me to do. Tell me. So she does. All of it. The trust fund. The custody scheme. The false protection order. The threat to make Rowan disappear if she doesn't cooperate. Every poisonous word Corinne spoke. Evan's face goes white, then red, then stone. She wants you to claim I'm dangerous, he says flatly. Yes. Take Rowan. Yes. Steal my settlement money. Yes. Silence crashes through the house like a wave. Evan grips his armrest so hard his knuckles crack. And if you don't? She destroys me. Says I was complicit from the start. Has evidence, emails, recordings, signatures. She'll send me to jail and still take Rowan anyway. So we're both trapped. We're both trapped. Evan laughs bitterly, drops his head into his hands. I knew this was too good to be true. A solution that actually solved problems? Should have known there was a knife waiting. I'm sorry. Maribel's voice is barely a whisper. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what she was planning. I thought I was just helping her meet some legal requirement. I didn't know about Rowan, about the money, about any of this. But you knew it was a scam. The words land like stones. Maribel flinches. Yes, you knew, and you did it anyway. I had nowhere else to go. And I had a son to protect. Evan looks up at her. His eyes are hard, cold. You brought a predator into my house, into my son's life, because you were too weak to say no. Each word cuts. Maribel feels tears streaming down her face. You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm weak. I'm complicit. I'm everything you think I am. But I'm telling you now, because I can't let her do this. I can't let her take Rowan. I won't. Why should I believe you? Because I'm giving you everything. She opens the folder, spreads the papers across the coffee table. Bank accounts, shell companies, forged documents. Every piece of evidence Corinne kept on me. I'm giving it all to you. You can take it to the police, to your lawyer, to anyone. Burn me down if you want. Just save your son. Evan stares at the papers, at the evidence of Corinne's entire operation laid bare. Dates, transactions, signatures, years of fraud documented in black and white. This could destroy her, he says quietly. That's the point. It'll destroy you, too. I know. You'll go to jail, probably. And you're okay with that? Maribel meets his eyes. No, I'm terrified. But I'm more terrified of what happens if I do nothing. Rowan deserves better. You deserve better. And maybe, her voice breaks, maybe if I do one good thing in my life, it'll matter. Evan picks up a document, studies it, sets it down, picks up another. These dates, he says slowly. This shell company formation. This was before your father died. What? Look, he points. April 2019. Your father didn't pass until June. Maribel leans forward, sees what he's seeing. Her breath catches. She was planning this while he was still alive? Looks like it. They go through the papers together, piece by piece, document by document, and slowly, a picture emerges that's worse than either of them imagined. Corinne didn't just inherit control when Maribel's father died. She engineered his death. Not literally, but financially, emotionally, systematically, cutting him off from friends, controlling his medications, making him dependent, isolating him until he gave up. And when he died, she took everything, including Maribel. She killed him, Maribel whispers. Not with a weapon, but she killed him. Evan's jaw tightens. He looks at her, really looks, sees past the complicity to the girl who lost her father and spent 15 years under the thumb of the woman who destroyed him. We take this to the police, he says. Tonight, she'll know. The moment we walk into a station, she'll know. She has people. Then we don't walk in. We call someone she doesn't control. Who? Evan thinks. Then reaches for his phone. Dials a number he hasn't called in 2 years. It rings 3 times. A voice answers. Rough. Tired. Calder? That you? Yeah. Marcus. It's me. Hell. Thought you were dead. Almost. Listen, I need help. The kind that doesn't go through official channels. A pause. What kind of trouble you in? The kind that involves fraud, extortion, And a woman trying to steal my kid. Another pause. Longer. I'm listening. Evan explains. Fast. Efficient. Marcus Trent was a private investigator before he retired. Worked construction site cases, including the one that crippled Evan. They weren't friends exactly, but they respected each other. Send me everything you got, Marcus says when Evan finishes. Photos of the documents. Names. Dates. I'll run it through some contacts. If this is as bad as you say, we can build a case that bypasses her entirely. How long? 48 hours. Maybe less. We don't have 48 hours. She wants Maribel to file tomorrow morning. Then don't let Maribel out of your sight. Keep her phone. Keep her away from any courthouse or police station. Buy me time. Evan looks at Maribel. You good with that? She nods. Whatever it takes. Send me the docs, Marcus says. And Calder? Watch your back. Women like this don't lose gracefully. The line goes dead. Evan and Maribel spend the next hour photographing every document, every signature, every transaction. They send it all to Marcus in encrypted files. Then they hide the originals in 3 different locations. One in the garage, one in Rowan's room behind a loose baseboard, one in Maribel's suitcase buried under clothes. By midnight, they're exhausted, wired, terrified. What do we do now? Maribel asks. We wait, and we prepare. For what? For war. They sleep in shifts. Maribel on the couch, Evan in his chair nearby, both of them listening for cars, for footsteps, for the sound of Corinne coming back to finish what she started. Morning comes gray and cold. Rowan wakes up confused about why Maribel slept downstairs. Evan tells him she wasn't feeling well. The boy accepts it without question because kids believe what they need to believe to feel safe. At 9 a.m., Maribel's phone rings. Corinne. Evan and Maribel stare at the screen. Don't answer, Evan says. It rings 4 more times, then stops. A voicemail notification appears. Maribel plays it on speaker. Corinne's voice fills the kitchen. Cold, sharp, furious. You have until noon, Maribel. File the report, or I file it for you. And trust me, my version is much worse. The voicemail ends. She's bluffing, Evan says. What if she's not? Then we accelerate. Evan calls Marcus. We need this done now. Today. I'm working as fast as I can. Not fast enough. She's threatening to file false reports herself. If she does that before we expose her, we lose everything. Marcus swears under his breath. Give me 2 hours. I'll make some calls. 2 hours. That's all you get. At 11 a.m., Maribel's phone rings again. This time it's a number she doesn't recognize. She answers. Hello? Mrs. Calder, this is Officer Dana Reynolds with the State Police. I'm calling about a report filed this morning regarding domestic disturbance at your residence. Maribel's blood turns to ice. What report? A Corinne Huxley filed a third-party concern about the safety of a minor child in your home. Claims the child's father is unstable and potentially dangerous. We need to do a welfare check. Today. That's not she's lying. Ma'am, I understand this is stressful, but we have to follow up. Can we schedule a time for officers to visit? Maribel looks at Evan. His face has gone pale. Give us an hour, Maribel says. We can do that. We'll be there at noon. The line goes dead. She did it, Maribel whispers. She actually did it. Evan's hands curl into fists. Call Marcus, now! Maribel dials. Marcus answers immediately. We're out of time, she says. Police are coming at noon. Corinne filed a report. Already ahead of you, Marcus says. I just sent everything to a contact at the state attorney's office. She's reviewing now. If she moves fast, how fast? Fast enough, maybe. Keep those cops outside when they show up. Don't let them take the kid. Stall. How do we? Figure it out. I'll call you back in 20 minutes. He hangs up. Evan and Maribel stare at each other. We're not letting them take Rowan, Evan says. What if we don't have a choice? There's always a choice. At 11:45, a police cruiser pulls up outside. Two officers, a man and a woman. They approach the door. Evan positions himself in the doorway, wheelchair blocking the entrance. Maribel stands beside him. The female officer knocks. "Mr. Calder? I'm Officer Reynolds. We spoke on the phone with your wife. We need to come in and conduct a welfare check." "Do you have a warrant?" Evan asks calmly. "We don't need one for a welfare check. We just need to see the child, make sure he's safe." "He's safe. He's upstairs doing homework. You can see him through the window if you want. But you're not coming in my house without a warrant." The male officer steps forward. "Sir, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. No, you can do it the legal way, which requires a warrant, which you don't have." Officer Reynolds softens slightly. "Mr. Calder, I understand you're upset, but we have a legal obligation to follow up on reports of child endangerment. If you refuse to cooperate, it looks bad. So does filing false reports," Maribel says, which is what Corinne Huxley did. "Ma'am, we have to investigate all reports, even ones filed by criminals." Both officers pause, exchange glances. "What are you talking about?" Reynolds asks. Maribel's phone buzzes. A text from Marcus. "Check your email now." She opens her email, sees a message from an attorney named Sarah Chen at the state attorney's office. "Emergency injunction granted. Forwarding to local PD now. Hold tight." Maribel shows the screen to the officers. "That's from the state attorney's office. They just filed an injunction against Corinne Huxley for fraud, extortion, and filing false reports. You might want to check with your dispatcher." The male officer keys his radio, speaks quietly, listens. His expression changes. "Stand down," he says to Reynolds. Then to Evan. "We're getting conflicting information. We need to sort this out at the station. Stay put." They walk back to the cruiser, make calls. More officers arrive. Then, an unmarked car. A woman in a suit steps out. Sarah Chen. She walks to the door, extends her hand to Evan. "Mr. Calder, I'm Sarah Chen. I've spent the last hour reviewing evidence of a systemic fraud operation involving your marriage, your settlement funds, and your custody of your son. I've issued emergency injunctions and arrest warrants. Corinne Huxley is being taken into custody as we speak." Evan stares at her. "You're serious?" "Very. And I'll need statements from both of you. But your son is safe, your custody is secure, and that woman will never come near your family again." Maribel's knees go weak. She grabs the doorframe to stay upright. It's over. It's actually over. 3 hours later, they're at the police station giving statements. Rowan is with a neighbor, a kind woman named Mrs. Patterson, who gives him cookies and lets him watch cartoons while his world gets put back together. Sarah Chen records everything. Every detail. Every document. Every threat. "This is one of the more elaborate schemes I've seen," she says when they finish. "Corinne Huxley wasn't just targeting you, Mr. Calder. We found at least 4 other similar cases. Vulnerable people forced into legal arrangements that gave her access to assets. You're not the first, but you might be the reason we stop her." "What happens now?" Evan asks. "She'll be charged, prosecuted. She's looking at significant prison time, and any agreements or contracts she coerced will be voided." "Including the marriage?" Maribel asks quietly. Sarah looks at her. "If that's what you want, you were coerced. That's grounds for annulment." Maribel glances at Evan. He looks back. Something passes between them, understanding, exhaustion, relief. "Let's talk about that later," Evan says. Sarah nods. "Fair enough. You're both free to go. We'll be in touch if we need anything else." They walk out of the station into late afternoon sunlight. The air is cold and clean and smells like freedom. "We should get Rowan," Evan says. "Yeah." They head to Mrs. Patterson's house. Rowan runs out the moment he sees them, wrapping his arms around Evan's chair and then around Maribel's waist. "You were gone forever. Did something bad happen?" "Something bad is over," Evan says, "and something good is starting." That night, after Rowan is asleep, Evan and Maribel sit at the kitchen table, coffee between them. Silence, that feels different now. Lighter. The annulment. Maribel says. Do you want it? Evan thinks. Long and hard. I don't know. Do you? I don't know either. That's honest. It's all I have left. Evan reaches across the table, takes her hand. You gave me everything. You burned your whole life down to save mine. I won't forget that. I didn't do it for gratitude. I know. You did it because you're brave, even if you don't believe it yet. Maribel's eyes fill with tears. I'm not brave. I'm just tired of being afraid. Same thing. They sit in the quiet, holding hands. Two broken people who collided by accident and chose each other on purpose. What now? Maribel asks. Now we figure it out. Day by day. No lies. No schemes. Just life. Messy and hard and real. I've never been good at real. Neither have I. Guess we'll learn together. Maribel smiles. Small. Genuine. The first real smile Evan's seen from her. Okay, she says. Together. 3 months later, Evan walks into Rowan's school for family day. Actually walks. No wheelchair. Just leg braces and a cane. And determination. The other parents stare. Whisper. He doesn't care. Rowan sees him and runs over. Dad, you're walking. I am, buddy. Does this mean you're not sick anymore? It means I'm getting better. Little by little. Maribel joins them. She works now, got a job at a nonprofit helping abuse survivors. Uses her experience with Corinne to help others escape. It's hard work. Good work. The kind that heals while it helps. The three of them make clay sculptures. Rowan creates a dinosaur that looks more like a blob. Maribel makes a lopsided bowl. Evan tries a cup and gives up halfway through. They're terrible at crafts. But they're good at this, at being together, at choosing each other, at building something real from the wreckage of something false. On the drive home, Rowan falls asleep in the back seat. Maribel drives. Evan sits in the passenger seat, hand on her knee. You think we'll make it? She asks. Make it where? I don't know. Wherever normal people make it to. Evan laughs. We're not normal people. Fair point. But yeah, I think we'll make it. How do you know? Because we're already here. We survived. Everything else is just details. Maribel smiles, keeps driving, and for the first time in her entire life, she feels like she's going somewhere that matters. 6 months after that, they renew their vows. Not because they have to, because they want to. Small ceremony. Just them. Rowan, Mrs. Patterson, Marcus Trent, Sarah Chen, the people who helped them survive. No courthouse this time. Just a park by a lake on a Saturday morning. The judge is kind. The words are simple. The rings are real. When Evan stands without help, without braces, just stands Rowan cheers. Maribel cries. And somewhere far away, in a prison cell, Corinne Huxley learns that the people she tried to break built something stronger than she ever could. I do, Evan says. I do, Maribel says. And they mean it. Years pass. Rowan grows, graduates, goes to college, comes home for holidays with stories and laughter, and a girlfriend who asks too many questions but makes him happy. Evan walks with a limp, but walks. Works as a safety consultant, helps other disabled workers fight for their rights, turns pain into purpose. Maribel runs her nonprofit, saves lives, tells her story to rooms full of survivors, and watches them realize they're not alone. And late at night, when the house is quiet, they sit together on the couch, his arm around her, her head on his shoulder. You ever regret it? Evan asks one night. Staying? Maribel thinks. Smiles. Every day. Yeah? Yeah. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. That doesn't make sense. Neither do we. But here we are. Here they are. Two people forced together by cruelty, held together by choice. Proof that sometimes the worst beginnings lead to the strongest endings. Standing isn't just about legs. It's about choosing to rise even when the world profits from keeping you down. It's about protecting what matters, about being brave when brave is the only option left. Evan Calder stood from his wheelchair that wedding night and told the truth. Maribel Huxley stood against the woman who controlled her life and chose freedom. And together, they stood for something bigger than survival. They stood for each other. If this story moved you, don't just watch act. Subscribe to Drill Stories right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Drop a comment below telling us what moment hit you hardest. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because these stories about survival, courage, and choosing love over fear, they matter. They change lives. They remind us we're not alone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, standing isn't just physical, it's spiritual. It's choosing to rise no matter how many times the world tries to break you. Now go share this story. Inspire someone. Change a life. Let's build this community together.